brought up a number of times the notion that nobody else wants to be the global policeman, so the United States has to step up for the job. I agree. Nobody else wants to be the world's policeman. The world's policeman. Lots of people want to be their own regions and their own neighborhoods' policemen. Some of them, thankfully, are incapable, like Venezuela. Some of them are increasingly capable, like China in Asia, and like Russia in Eurasia. And the United States has to recognize that. They have to recognize that the extraordinary shift in importance of alliances and the importance in the battles of the hearts and minds, not of the individual people in these countries, but of the leaders that have to support this policing role to provide legitimacy, is not only assured by the world's largest military, but also by the world's largest trade flows, but also by the influence in these countries. And we're seeing that in terms of China's extraordinary influence in Latin America, which is growing by the second, in Africa, by Russia and Eurasia and the rest. The United States is going to have to learn to live with this. Look, it's true that a lot of Americans are unhappy. They're unhappy because of subprime. They're unhappy because of recession. They're unhappy because of energy insecurity. They're unhappy because of Iraq. And increasingly, they're unhappy because the bailout that's coming isn't like the U.S. government with the S&L crisis. The bailout that's happening with the big blue chips right now is coming from China and the Gulf and the rest. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We don't want Americans that are increasingly insecure to say the U.S. shouldn't play a leadership role. Look, every debate needs a theme. For me, this theme is that the great should never be the enemy of the good. Okay? Now, I'm an American, and I'd love to have the great, but I tell you, I'd take what I can get.
Douglas Murray.
Thank you. I'd like to start off by mentioning something Ellen Laipson said, that she said sometime earlier that the rest of the world is providing the actual police. One of the reasons why that may be the case is because you, as a nation, are the ones that are doing the heavy lifting. It's not hard for Canada or somebody to not be able to provide troops, but to be able to provide policemen. It's not hard for Germany to send legions of people to Afghanistan who won't fire a gun. You can find those people. Who are you going to call? This is the question that we should have in our minds. When something goes wrong, when a tsunami occurs, when a massive humanitarian catastrophe like that, when a rogue state emerges, when a failed state becomes an even more failed state, or a successful one starts to fail, who are you going to call? Is it going to be another nation state, or is it going to be the UN? Matthew Parris mentioned the UN. The idea of the UN policing the world is like saying that you just pick a cross-section of every household in New York and say that house will do the policing, and that one and that one. In other words, an entirely random process, which will mean you'll get a certain amount of people who are fine, but you won't get the driven people, you won't get the people who are prepared to do the job, who are trained to do the job, who are financed to do the job. You'll get some people who can do it accidentally. You'll also get some bums and some lazy guys and some guys who are just wicked and others, and that's what the UN is composed of, is a whole group of people who you would give moral legitimacy for the simple fact that they're there. This comes back to this issue I raised earlier about America wanting to be liked. You can police the world, you can be the world's policeman, but you should not be. It looks extremely bad to look like you're desperately wanting to be loved by the rest of the world as well. You will be blamed when you're the world's most powerful nation. You will be blamed when you intervene, and you will be blamed when you don't. You will just have to put up with that. And when the other side says that the great should not be the enemy of the good, I don't think anyone on this side would be or has implied that it would be, but the great should certainly be the enemy of the bad.